Hi, I'm Christa Jacobson, headmistress of the Budo and today getting ready to start my morning classes here at the Hanbu Dojo. It's Saturday morning, and I wanted to shoot a quick video out here. It's a beautiful morning, and I wanted to talk to you guys about a specific topic before I started teaching my classes. Today the topic that we're going to talk about is happiness, and happiness is subjective, right? What that means is it's different for everyone. You know, what makes one person happy doesn't make another person happy. So, same thing, the idea with love. Same thing, if you get two couples, what these two define as love, the other couple doesn't define as love. However, the essence of love and the essence of happiness remains the same. It doesn't matter what makes someone happy, the essence of happiness is the same. So, that's what we're going to talk about today. Now, I don't want to talk about love. That's not the topic. People think love and happiness are the same, and they're not the same. I know people that they may love somebody, but being around them don't make them happy. I think we've all been there, right? You have family or maybe in-laws or something where you do love them, but just being around them drives you nuts. It doesn't make you happy. So you can definitely love somebody and not be happy to be around them, and just the same, you could be happy being around certain people, whether it's friends or colleagues at work or whatever, and they can make you happy and you can share some laughs, but you don't necessarily love them. So, understanding that love and happiness do not go hand in hand, they do or can work hand in hand, and they can bounce off one another. You could definitely be with someone that you love and makes you happy. But today we're not talking about love. Today we're specifically talking about happiness. And again, happiness is subjective. Now, what I want to talk about with this is that happiness is something that's inside. So many people got this idea that happiness is an item, or something that you can hold on to, or something that you can show. Like, well, if I get this car, I'll be happy. Or if I get this motorcycle, I'll be happy. Or if I get this job, I'll be happy. Or if I have a family, right, I'll be happy. Well, it's not necessarily true, because, again, I know people that, have bought a really nice car and they're miserable. I know people that bought a really nice motorcycle and then they got the bike they wanted and they're not happy. In fact, they're the same miserable person that they were before they bought the bike. I know people that have a really high-paying job and question what the hell they're doing with their life. And I know people that have started a family or have got a family and they can't stand themselves and they're not happy at all. Now, all of those things are nice, and all those things definitely can bring happiness to you, or can definitely bring joy to you. And again, that's something different. Something you enjoy or joy, and happiness is, again, sometimes they work hand in hand, but they're not always the same thing. It's like love and happiness isn't the same thing, and enjoyment and happiness isn't always the same thing. You can enjoy something in that moment. So, but again, we're not going to talk about that right now either. We're specifically talking about happiness. Happiness is not an item. Happiness is not a thing. Happiness cannot be defined. Happiness is the journey. Happiness is the grind. Waking up every morning and doing what you do. Now, what you do is different. Again, that's subjective, because we all do something different with our lives. But happiness is truly being in one with yourself, accepting yourself, and loving who and what you are and what you become, and being okay with that. Now, that doesn't mean people don't want to make themselves better. Of course, everyone wants to be better. That doesn't mean you're not striving to have a higher paying job, or striving to make your family better, or striving to have a better vehicle, or whatever. Of course, those things are always the goals, but those goals, a goal itself and attaining a goal, that isn't true happiness. That gets into the idea of more of an enjoyment, or other avenues of our emotional content, which we can talk about that through our meditation. When I do meditation videos, you guys can see that, where we talk about how all these emotions are completely independent from one another, and you have to learn what emotion is it that you're really having a problem with, and how to tap into that, and maybe open up, specific chakras and dealing with your own inside problems and demons that can make you the person that you're trying to become. But when dealing with happiness, I think it's very important that the first thing you have to understand is self-empowerment. You have to learn how to empower yourself to be great. You have to learn how to accept who you are, what you are, and who you've become. And then from that, you go to make yourself, you start on the path of making yourself better. Now, the one thing that I find with a lot of people is that are not happy, they start deleting things in their life that makes them happy. And this is really going to be the core portion of this video. They start taking things away because they feel that they need time or they need space to figure something out. Well, I will make a video on time and space that's actually in my queue. I have a list of videos that I like to create for people, and that's going to be on there. I think understanding time and space is very important. As someone who's an entrepreneur and I own a business and I have a family and so on and so forth, I think time and space and that sort of thing is a very important thing to understand and how to utilize it correctly so that you can, achieve the objectives that you want, whether it's family or business or otherwise. But deleting things in your life that make you happy or that you get enjoyment out of is never the answer to finding true happiness. It absolutely isn't. Deleting friends that have loved you and have supported you and have been there for you, that's never the thing. Once you start deleting things that, if you have 5 things on the table that make you happy, but there's 20 things on the table, right? And you're only focusing on the 15 items that make you miserable. Maybe the job that you have or don't have makes you miserable. Maybe the vehicle that you have or don't have makes you miserable. Maybe the family that you have or don't have makes you miserable. So on and so forth. So you've got these 20 things on the table and you're focusing on the 15 things that doesn't make you happy. Well, the last thing you want to do is take the 5 things that do make you happy and then throw them to the side, because you're tanking yourself into submission. You're putting yourself into darkness, The people that have stood by you and have loved you, and we all have people that have at least stood by us and loved us to some degree. That doesn't necessarily mean they're friends now or whatever, but all of us have had somebody that's helped us to get to the point where we are. That is a fact. For me, even though I've done, I moved out, and everyone knows, you could watch the story of me. I slept in my car, I was homeless for a little while and so forth. Those were decisions that I made. And I've always had people that if I wanted to, I could have called and so forth. But those were decisions that I made that had nothing to do with I didn't have options. And sometimes people tend to look at they listen to their head. So let's say that you're someone that's negative minded, you fight depression, you don't like where you're at. Well, here's the reality of it. You put yourself there. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you put yourself there. For me, when I say that I was homeless and living in my car, the reason for that wasn't because I was fighting depression. I've never been someone that fights depression. I've never been someone that has like anxiety or anything like that. That's never been a thing with me. And I know a lot of times people translate or they correlate transgendered people or transgendered women or men or whatever, the transgender community, with depression, or transgendered individuals with anxieties and fear. For me, that is absolutely never the case. And I'll give you a little background on that real quick. For me, as I was me and my wife got married, and we were married, I'm gonna guess 3 or 4 years. We've been married now almost, it's gonna be 20 years. We're not at 20 yet, but got married in 99. So it's 17, so been married 18 years. So about 3 or 4 years into the marriage, I tell my wife, I say, I'm not gonna live a lie. I'm a very aggressive person towards, if I have a goal, I'm gonna go get it. I don't sit on shit. If I want something done, I get it done. I'm not gonna ponder anything. The only way you can achieve anything is through happiness. Thinking about something doesn't get anything done. I'm a very competitive and aggressive person. I go after my goals. Last time I had a boss that gave me a paycheck was in the 90s. You know, since the year Y2K, right? I'm the only person that has, I'm the only person that's found a way to pay my bills as far as me on me. I've never had a boss since the 90s is what I'm saying. I've always figured out a way for me to do it. I've always been an entrepreneur. I started my own business. I was a personal trainer. I bought a health club. I've had a very successful health club. From there, I wanted to start the martial arts school. To me, that wasn't enough. I didn't want just a dojo. I wanted to do the online. I wanted to share real, authentic ninjutsu and bujutsu with people. So I started a Shinobi no Mono magazine, and from that started led me to start writing books. And then from that, I opened an online ninjutsu dojo, and then I started making DVDs. And this idea of goals and what I wanted to achieve in life kept growing, and I kept going after it. If you want to have a student that just pulled up, if you want to, you can stay and listen, or you can throw it in there. Doesn't matter to me.
I'll listen.
Okay.
I'm sure it's interesting.
Yes, I'm having a video about happiness.
Okay.
Yes, that's the lesson today.
Okay.
So, anyway, my point with this is, I personally am a very aggressive individual towards wanting to achieve goals and go after them, and I think most people, whether you like me or hate me, but you know me in my personal life, you would say that I'm very ambitious. Most people say I'm very focused. I'm very, there's another word for it. I can't remember the word they used the other day, but you know, I'm gonna go get what I want. You know, I'm very competitive in that sense, and I'm gonna fight for it. As me and my wife was married about 3 or 4 years into my marriage, I told her, I said, you know, I've now figured out that this isn't me. And you know, that's a big thing, because when you're born, you're raised, and the only thing we know is what we're told. I mean, you know, I hate to say this, but it's just the truth. I mean, is water wet? Or is that just what you've been told? Because when you're in the water and you're swimming, do you think you're wet? You know what I'm saying? So it's just knowledge that we learn and we've acquired, and that's a whole philosophical thing that we could talk about another day. But the idea of, is water wet? You can use that analogy and have some deep thought through meditation. But one thing that I would say is, it took me a while, and once I got into my early 20s, I knew that, you know, this wasn't me, and I wanted to be me. So once I found out that this wasn't necessarily me, I told my wife, I said, I'm not gonna live a lie anymore. I figured it out. The way that I'm living isn't me. So she tells me, she's like, so we had a big talk about it, and of course there was, you know, for her there was unknown factors. I mean, because the only thing you ever see, and by no means am I trying to like be disrespectful to anybody that's in the transgendered community, and I don't mean this in any way at all, but there is a stereotype with people that's in the transgender community. You got people that are like, good morning.
Good morning.
I have another one that just showed up, so I'm going to keep taping here. But yeah, I think the door's open. I'm not for sure.
Well, I'm going that way.
Okay. But the big stereotype in the transgender community is, you get this idea of this individual that maybe they're a mechanic, or they go to the army, or you know, they're this macho bodybuilder or something along those lines. Very masculine job, and then they come out and they say, you know, I am transgendered. I'm gonna live an honest life. I'm gonna express myself honestly to the world, and then all of a sudden they become a hairdresser, right, or cosmetologist, or they go from being an army sniper to, you know, a waitress or something, you know. And when I say this, I just want to reiterate that if any of you guys are transgendered and you just heard me say that, I don't mean any disrespect. We all have a different path in life. If you've taken that path, that's awesome, be you. But for me, that was absolutely never the case. For me, I've always been strong, with a strong sense of self-esteem. I've had a high level of self-esteem, a high level of self-empowerment, and I wasn't ever going to do anything that wasn't me. I didn't choose the way I was born. I am a transgendered woman. I am a woman. The way I was born didn't necessarily fit my soul or my spirit. So growing up, I mean, you know, I loved basketball. I love the Denver Broncos. I love KU basketball. I love watching NBA basketball. I love bodybuilding and fitness and weight training and martial arts and action movies and spy movies and, you know, video games. And so I was talking to my wife and she's like, so what are you going to do now? You're not going to be a personal trainer? Are you not going to do martial arts? So she was concerned that she had married a lie. She was concerned with the person that she knew wasn't authentic, that the person that she knew and married wasn't real. And I told her, I said, honey, everything you know about me is fucking real and honest. I don't have a problem with who I am. I don't have a problem with what I've become because I make that choice. I choose that, and I'm going to be damned if I make a decision that isn't right for me or what I believe. But I didn't get to choose how I was born. That wasn't my choice. But how I live my life is. So I said, I want you to imagine a woman that's a lesbian, right? But I want you to imagine a woman that loves sports, that loves the Denver Broncos, that loves KU basketball, that loves being a personal trainer, that loves martial arts. I want you to imagine that woman, and she's a lesbian. That's me. And I just told her, I said, everything that we have, everything you know of me, that isn't going to change. It's just the way that I express myself is going to change. Because the way that I express myself and how I live isn't true to me. And she got it. So the next couple weeks, you know, we had our little talks and all that kind of stuff. And like I said, we're 4 years into the marriage. And you guys are going to see where I'm going at with this video. This is a long video, but you're going to see there's a strong point at the end. But at the end, after 3 or 4 years, after we have this discussion, two couple weeks later, then she gets it. She sees that, you know, I'm still waking up, having my coffee, doing my workout. I'm still watching the sports. I'm still doing the same thing. It just, I wanted to be me, and I didn't. There wasn't this idea of, you know, the personal trainer. Don't get me wrong, I was really muscular beforehand. I mean, you know, I had a drastic turn. For those of you guys who didn't know me previous, I used to, when I was a personal trainer and before the transition, I did take steroids, and I will fully admit that. I was having issues with, I was having a little bit of like, maybe if I take the steroids, I can get the muscles, you know, and I really tried to put everything I could into the bodybuilding. So I was much bigger. I mean, I wasn't Arnold Schwarzenegger by any means, but I was much bigger. And my body literally, when I made the decision, within 30 days, and I shit you not, and it was a hard transition, hard on my body. I went from taking steroids to starting my transition to then which steroids is a form of testosterone. And I went from that, starting my transition, now I'm taking estrogen. Yeah, and that was rough on the body, to be quite honest. That part of it, the hormone change. But it's what I wanted to do. So now, with the video that we're talking about today, is I've always done what I've needed to do to be happy. I've always made that decision. I've never walked on my friends. Anytime someone's ever asked for my help, I help them. Anytime a family member has ever said, I need to talk to you, I've talked to them. I've never ignored anybody, even the people that absolutely I can't stand. I would never turn my back on someone because I think it's just the most disrespectful and dishonorable thing anybody can do. You know, there's an old saying, don't bite the hand that feeds you. You know what I mean? If someone has given me help in my life to help me at some realm, even if it was something as simple as I had a flat tire on the side of the road and someone pulled over and, you know, helped me. If they called, I'm picking up the phone. You know, it doesn't matter whether there's an issue or not. I'm just not that kind of person. I'm not the kind of person to turn my back and delete anybody from my life. Although there are people in my life that are like that, that's not me. But when we talk about this idea of happiness, happiness isn't an item. So like, that's where I want to get back to my story. Happiness wasn't being a personal trainer. It wasn't doing the martial arts. It wasn't having the family. It wasn't I owned a health club and I had employees. I had a really good paying job. That wasn't the happiness. It was my journey and doing what I felt was right for me along the way, you know? And I see people, they're really depressed, they're really down, and everything, they feel like all these items is what's gonna make them happy. Like I said earlier in the video, If I have a family, I'll be happy. I know people that have a family that are miserable. If I have a good paying job, I'll be happy. I know people that make a lot of money and they're miserable. So those things are not accurate. There's an old saying, and actually I'm not even for sure if this is an old saying. It could be a new saying that we say is an old saying, because sometimes they're modern philosophy that we just pan off as something old and it makes us think. So I don't know for sure the origin of this particular quote, but the quote is, a warrior doesn't give up what he loves. He finds the love in what he does. So what that means is you don't stop doing you. You know, people don't change. And that's another thing. I know this is a very witchy, Wicca, little witchcraft thing, and y'all know that that's me, but people don't change. I'm not gonna, just because I went from, my spirit is the same. That's my point. My spirit was the same. I grew into the woman that I'm going to be, right? People grow to where they're going to be. They don't change. I mean, just because you're like, well, I'm a lawyer, and now all of a sudden you're homeless, and you didn't change. You grew to be the homeless person that you're supposed to be because you put yourself there. There's this idea of like karma, and things are the way they are, and everything has a reason. It's not, nothing just happens. There's a reason why it happened, you know? And so I think it's kind of important that people, when they're dealing with happiness or understanding true happiness, what is it that you want in your life that doesn't have anything to do with a box? There's this, one of our lessons in the Budo Dikai is understanding self-empowerment and understanding how to live outside of the box. I believe that's on 6th Q, isn't that right? Something like that? I think that's a 6th Q lesson, I think, a blue belt lesson, if I remember right. And that's really what this is. It's, don't tell yourself that happiness is something that's based on a social box. Family, job, money, car, women, men, whatever, right? That isn't what happiness is. Because if you think that's what happiness is, then you have defined it wrong, and you will be a miserable bastard or a miserable bitch until you actually figure out what happiness is. Happiness is a journey. It's not a destination. If what you're doing in your life, your way, dull, right? If what you're doing isn't making you happy, then why are you doing it? And if what you was doing made you happy, why did you quit doing it? Again, let's think about those 20 items on the table. We talked about that. There are 20 items on the table. 5 items make you happy. 15 items make you miserable. You only focus on the 15. But those 5 are on the table. If you take those 5 and you dump them off the table, now it's not 75% in your life that's miserable. Now it's 100% in the life that's miserable, right? So I think that's something that's also very important to look at. You can't dump the things in life that make you happy. You can't delete the friends that have always been there for you. You can't tell your family to fuck off. You can't do those things because all you're doing is putting yourself deeper into a hole. Now, this gets to this last part of the video. Now I've talked a lot, and hopefully maybe someone of you guys learned something from this lesson. I'm not for sure, but when people fight depression, you have always got anxiety, depression, right? Oh, I fight anxiety, I fight depression. Depression means you're focused on the past or what was. So, I suck, my life is shit, I don't have a good job, you know, or whatever it is. I mean, I could be all pissy too, you know. I don't know what about what. It sucks, I'm 6 foot tall blonde with big boobs and blah blah blah, you know. I mean, I could be a smart ass, but I mean, you know, like I could come up with we all can come up with shit that we don't like. But depression is when your mind is sitting into that area. It's like you parked into the past. My life is terrible, I don't have a job that I want, I don't have the family I want, I don't have the house that I want, I don't have the car that I want, and you just stick there. And then you figure, for some reason, people feel like, well, if I get out of that, if you take away my worries, then I'll be happy. Well, that's not true. And again, we talked about how love and happiness ain't the same thing. We talked about how enjoyment and happiness isn't the same thing. Not having a worry doesn't translate into happiness, right? I mean, if you tell me that if someone walks up to me and they're miserable and they're hungry, they're starving, and they say, if I just had a plate of food, I would be happy. So I give them food. They're not happy. They're just not hungry anymore. You know, just because you get a better car or a better house or whatever, that doesn't make you happy. So this idea of tanking yourself into depression and letting the darkness consume you is ridiculous, especially when people your whole life has told you not to do it. I mean, it's your choice. You guys can choose what you do or what you don't do. Life is your choice. Whether you succeed or not, it's on you. If you have a miserable ass life, it's because you did it. I can guarantee you, whatever position you're in, you're in. I mean, if you're in one of those feelings where you're like, fuck my job, and you quit your job, and you know, and you do this, that, and the other, well, you put yourself there. And you can't get pissed at anybody else other than yourself. So, but it's up to you to get yourself out of the hole. And focusing on depression isn't gonna do it. The other one is anxiety, which is focusing on the future. Oh my God, what if I don't get this job? I have a job interview. Maybe they're not gonna like me. Maybe I'm too old for the job. Maybe I don't have enough experience for the job. Or what if so-and-so doesn't like me? Or what if so-and-so breaks up with me? Or what if my car goes to crap and the engine catches on fire or something? Oh my God, right? Well, that's anxiety. Anxiety is now you're pissed about the future. Well, as a martial artist, the whole idea is to understand, to live in the moment. In this moment, right now, everything that you're depressed about is done and over with. You can't change it. All you can do is move on from it. Thinking about the shit isn't gonna help you any. You right? From an anxiety perspective, that's this side. On this side, the anxiety, fearing and having anxiety of what could happen, what might happen, what maybe could probably happen, that ain't doing you any good either. Because if you're focused more on what could happen, then you're not focused on what you need to do to not make that happen. Again, happiness is the journey. You need to focus on the now. Bring it into the now. That's why every time we have class, Shiken, Haramitsu, Daikomyo, in this moment, right now, I'm gonna make myself better. And so many times I see people, they start martial arts training and there's a moment where they peak, that they find themselves, and then they tank it. And they tank it because they let it go. They quit their training, they don't put faith into what they're doing, they don't believe in that anymore, in the training or in the philosophy. They start doing other things with their life. They know they're doing shit that they shouldn't be doing, and they lose it. And it's terrible to see that when it happens, but again, people are in the position that they're in because they put themselves there. We're all victims of circumstance to a certain degree. There are times where, don't get me wrong, people have been evicted from their homes for no reason. But if you've been evicted from a home, why would you say that you were evicted a year ago? Right? We are all victims of circumstance. We all have to deal with shitty things in our life. And I get that. Those are problems, but people who are successful in life look at a problem like a challenge. Like, oh really? Oh shit, I gotta find an apartment. Or oh shit, the Daikomyo size in 2 weeks, I gotta get ready. Or whatever the problem is in life, you know, whether it's a money problem, a relationship problem, a materialistic problem like a car, an automobile, a house, or whatever, or even love, emotion. A problem isn't a problem as long as you look at it like it's something that you need to look at it more competitively. Look at it like it's more something that you got to handle. I don't know what the word is for that, but it's something that you need to just take care of. It doesn't need to necessarily be an ongoing thing. And I think so many people focus not on what true happiness is. They focus so much on making a life and making an image than living a life. And I know you guys have heard me say that before, but quit focusing so much on trying to make a life. I need to make money. I need that house. I need that car. I need that family. Live a life. I mean, there's a difference between like surviving and living. And if all you're doing is going to work, working your 40, going to home, and being miserable, then you're just surviving. You're doing exactly what the government wants you to do. Pay your taxes, shut the fuck up, be miserable, do it again, right? But live. I mean, goddamn, there's 168 hours in the week. 168. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week is 168 hours. If you work your 40, You have 128 hours. Even if you work 8 hours a day, I mean, if you sleep 8 hours a day, that 8 hours times 7 is 56. That 128 subtract 56 is somewhere around, what, 70-ish? I'm guesstimating, my math in my head ain't great. So you got at least 70 extra hours. So after you work 40, and after you sleep 8 hours a night, you got roughly 70 hours to make yourself better. What are you doing in that 70 hours that's making you better? What are you doing in that 70 hours that's gonna make you to be happy, put you on the path of happiness, finding self-enlightenment, self-empowerment, self-esteem? What are you doing to benefit you to be a better you? Are you? Or are you just sitting on your ass being a miserable fuck, you know, pissed at your life, pissed at yourself, pissed at your decisions, fear of not doing anything to make yourself better because somebody might tell you no? God damn, guys, look at how many people tell me no on a consistent basis. I'm every fucking day, oh, it's a transgendered woman teaching martial arts, or blah, blah, blah. Ninjutsu master this, Tomoru that, Budo Ninjutsu this. Fuck them. If people don't like what I'm doing, they ain't gonna be my students anyway. I am doing all of this to help teach the martial arts that was taught to me in an authentic and true way to help other people be better people. If people don't like me, well then they're clearly not gonna like me. They're clearly not gonna learn anything from me. But the people that can open their mind and learn something from me, those are the people that I'm trying to talk to. Those are the people that I want to listen. Those are the people that I want to train. Not everyone's gonna like you. And not everyone's gonna make every perfect decision. The gods know that I have fucked up many things in my life. I am not perfect at all. I make just as many mistakes as everybody else. The only difference between me and the person that's walking on the street is I have found something that I'm extremely passionate about, which is the martial arts, and I live my life by that passion. Most people don't even have a passion. Like, what are you passionate about? What is your meaning of life? Well, if you don't know what your purpose of life is, find a passion. Through that, you'll find your purpose. So the only difference me and guy that walks up and down the road that hates himself or whatever is I have something that I'm very passionate about, and I'm living my life through that way, because that's what makes me happy. Students are going to come and go. Good students will come and go. Good students will leave, and they'll leave as bad students and disrespectful as shit. But I'm not going to allow that to affect me or the way that I teach the school or the way that I live my life. Other people's actions doesn't determine my success. Hateful people on the internet doesn't determine my success in business. People in my life that decide to come in and out of my life doesn't determine my happiness. And students who come to the dojo and decide to leave isn't going to determine the authenticity or the reality of the truth of the martial arts that I teach. That's just what it is. And I think all of you guys that have listened to this point, I think you guys need to do a mirror match. And what that is, a mirror match is when you go in the mirror, go in the bathroom, look in the mirror, and ask yourself, who the fuck am I? What the fuck am I doing? And how the fuck am I gonna get there? And if you can ask those questions to yourself, honestly, not lying to yourself, because when you look in the mirror, the eyes that you're looking into already knows the truth. They already know you're full of shit. You can't lie to yourself. You can lie to everybody else. You know what I mean? You can lie to everybody else. You can make it sound all whatever, and that's all well and good, but you cannot lie to yourself. You can't, because, oh shit, now I'm out of frame. You can't do that because you know you're lying. You have to be honest with yourself. The worst fucking lie that you can say is the ones you tell yourself. If you're fighting depression, anxiety, if you don't have what you're doing in life, let me tell you something. And you don't want to listen to other people. You don't want to listen to people that have been successful. You don't want to listen to people who are trying to give you advice. You think that you have the answers. Well, let me tell you something. You don't have the answers, because if you had the answers, you wouldn't be in the position that you're in. What you have is a goddamn ego, and you need to let the shit go. That's what the fuck you have. Because if you had the correct answers, you wouldn't be where you are. What you need to do is be a little humble and listen to someone who's actually done something with their life, and someone who has found themselves and found a purpose and is willing to kind of help shape and mold you in that direction, or at least give you advice. But if you're the kind of person that, if your only thing in your head is saying, I hate myself, and then you don't want to take the advice of other people that is trying to help you, how is that beneficial? If you're already mind fucking yourself every day and taking yourself down, how is that better or more beneficial than taking the advice of someone else? What, because you have an ego? Because you feel that maybe you're 30 years old and you should know better, or maybe you're 40 years old and you should be this place in your life, or maybe you're 50 years old and you feel like this is what it should be. Well, it doesn't matter what you think, because what you think doesn't always mean it is what it is. Now, everything is what you think it is, and not everything what you see is correct. What you see is what you perceive, and your perception is based on your perspective. And if your perspective is already mind fucking yourself to death, then you're not going to see the positive in anything that you're looking at. I could look right there, we could see the beautiful flowers, you could see whatever, or you could be like, yep, and there's a piece of trash right by the curb. It's, again, all perception is based on perspective, and perspective is based on your emotional content of where you are, your stability. So anyway, this was the vlog video today. I'm not for sure what anybody got out of any of this shit. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you got a little piece of my perspective. These kind of videos are going to come a lot more. Typically when I do Kuden lessons in the dojo, this is how it is. When I do Kuden lessons on YouTube, I would take this video and then I would put it on my editor, and I'm sure this is like a 30 or 40 minute video, and I would watch the son of a bitch, and I would think, okay, what is the purpose of this video? And then I would cut out all the shit that had nothing to do with the purpose, like me being transgendered and all that stuff. And then I would take it down to like a 20-minute video or a 10-minute video and give you guys that. However, I have the feeling now, this week is a big week for me. It's the 13th year that the Budo has been in business. And the Daikomyosai is also on a certain week that fits with my spirituality and my spiritual practice. And it means like the light, the opening of the light, the seeing something. And I feel like the best way for me to connect to my students and the people that follow me is to stop editing these goddamn videos so much. Especially the martial art video is always going to edit. You know, cut, boom, boom, put the music in, the fades, make it look really cool. But these kind of videos, I'm going to stop editing them as much unless I have to. I want to just put them up like this, make them raw, because the way that I teach is if someone wants to learn from me, they're going to have to understand how I teach. And the way that I teach is I start with this particular topic, and then I go from that topic and I explain things, and then we're going to branch off and talk about something that I had in my life, like in this we did the transgender bit and how I turned that into how it was part of my path, and then I talk about this, and it all makes a big story, a big lesson, right? And that's just the way that I teach. So because that's the way that I teach, that's the way these videos are going to start being, because I think that people need to see a more, not that all the other videos are wrong, it's just that I kind of simplified them down to a point. Now I think I want to be more, I want to make videos more open to where they can hopefully open more avenues towards meditation and deep thought rather than just a specific topic. And previous, all the other Kuden videos that I made up to this one video, I've always edited down, or I've shot them in a sense where it's one topic. And that's just not typically the way that I teach. I do teach one topic, but I use other things around that topic and compress it to give the topic depth and understanding of what it is that I'm talking about. So if you guys like this video, I hope you like the video, because there's going to be a lot more like it. Maybe not about happiness and depression and anxiety, and maybe not, but this type of video is going to be more of that. So anyway, my little house shoes here. I am going to get in the floor, start teaching class, and I will talk to all of you guys later. If you guys made it this far in the video, you're awesome. Shit. And if you've watched this and you're like, wow, you know, she really opened up my mind to certain things, I'm just going to start with how I'm going to end it like I started. I'm Christa Jacobson. I'm the head mistress of the Budo Yukai. And if you guys want to go onto my website, which is www.budoru-ninjutsu.com, all the information will be below. Just click the link to budoru-ninjutsu.com. If you're interested in authentic ninjutsu and classical samurai bujutsu, check out the link that says dojos. We might have a dojo in your area. You can start training with one of my instructors. If you don't live next to one of our dojos, we do offer an online ninjutsu dojo, and you can train in the convenience of your home. like this, shooting video, and you'll correspond with me. You'll be shooting videos back and forth, and I'll be helping you train in the arts and helping you on your path of life. So again, for those of you guys who've stuck around for all this time, thank you very much for your love and support. I deeply appreciate it. Until next time, take care, be safe, and good luck in your journey of Budo. Blessed be. You ready to train?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, let's go do this.